Okay, good morning, students. I think my
Yes,
voice is
sir.
clear to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to start animal physiology with endocrinology first. Then we'll move to other organ systems. Let me start with the first topic: hormonal control of reproduction in mammals. So this PPT is prepared in bilingual mode. Those who doesn't know Telugu, please what we call neglect or ignore the Telugu translation part. There is complete English and Telugu translation part in every slide. So you can concentrate only on English one. I'll be teaching only in English. Okay. Let us start with endocrine glands. We have a body, and this body is made up of organs. Organs are made up of tissues, and tissues are made up of cells. This is the body plan of ours. Now, we know a group of cells which are structurally and functionally similar, group of cells which are structurally and functionally similar form into tissues. For example, there is a muscle tissue. So this muscle tissue comprises of all muscle cells only, and all these muscle cells have the same structure. They are structurally similar, and all are responsible for contraction. They are functionally similar. Likewise, coming to the tissues. So there are so many tissues in our body, like muscular tissue, nervous tissue, skeletal tissue, reproductive tissue, etc. and etc. And two or more such tissues join to form organs. Two or more tissues join to form organ. For example, liver. It's an organ where it is made up of hepatic tissue containing hepatocytes. It is supplied with blood vessels. It's supplied with nervous system and so on. So thus two or more tissues form into organ. Two or more such organs form into organ systems. Two or more such organs form into organ systems, and that organ systems make up our body. So when you study in intermediate, we have different grades of body organization. One is called as cellular grade of body organization. That means the entire body is made up of single cell. This is evolved into tissue grade of body organization, where the organism's body is made up of tissues as seen in cylindroids. And this evolved into organ grade of organization starting from Annelida, starting from Helminthes. And highest evolved system organization is organ system grade of organization, where we have different organ systems, that is digestive system. Okay, and this digestive system is having varied functions. Every organism needs to survive, for which it requires energy. Energy is provided by food, and it starts with nutrition. So taking in food into the alimentary canal. How the nutrients are taken? By a process called as ingestion, where you take food inside. Ingestion is followed by digestion, where the large macromolecules like lipids, carbohydrates, proteins, and nucleic acids are broken down into their smaller monomer units. Like proteins are broken down to amino acids, carbohydrates are broken down to monosaccharides, lipids are broken down to fatty acids and glycerol, nucleic acids are broken down into nitrogen base, sugar, and phosphate. And these monomer units are called as absorbable molecules and also assimilable molecules. That means they are present in all these digested food is present in the intestine, and now it has to reach the blood so that it can be distributed to all cells of the body. And in order to reach all cells of the body, first it has to cross the barrier, that is the wall of the intestine. Then it comes into the tissue fluid. From there it goes into the blood vessel wall. From there it goes into the cells. So that is the reason why the food that we take is large macromolecular in structure, which cannot pass through all these cells. So it is broken into small pieces, and these small pieces enter the wall of the intestine. From there reach the blood, a process we call this as absorption. After absorption takes place, the digested food through the again blood is supplied to all parts of the body, and from there it reaches the tissue fluid again. From there it reaches the cells, and this we call it as assimilation. So these are the five different things associated with the digestion of food. Then what happens after digestion? Some there remains an undigested food material, and this undigested food material is sent out. That is what egestion is. So digestive system includes all these things to be happened. So for this to happen, it requires an organ system, and this organ system is made up of alimentary canal and digestive glands. Alimentary canal and digestive glands. So put together, alimentary canal and digestive glands constitute the digestive system. So this is the first organ system that we can see. Now coming to the second one. The second one is said to be integumentary system. If somebody asks you what is the largest organ in the body, one has to say it is the skin. Okay, skin is the largest organ of the body. So with its epidermis and associated blood vessels, nervous system, that means nervous tissue, this forms the another system that is called as integumentary system. We'll deal with that in what we call histology and immunology put together. And the third one is said to be respiratory system. Respiratory system. Respiratory system comprises of a respiratory tract, including respiratory organs such as gills, lungs, etc. And this is responsible for, as we know, taking in oxygen and leaving out carbon dioxide. What happens in between? In between, what happens is the oxygen from lungs goes to the blood. From there, it goes to the cell. At the same time, through your alimentary canal, glucose goes to the blood. From there, goes to the cell. So there is glucose plus oxygen here. So when glucose and oxygen are together, oxygen breaks down glucose to release carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Okay, so this energy is utilized by the cell. Water, if at all less, it can be utilized, otherwise it can be sent out. And carbon dioxide, which can make the blood acidic because it is carbon dioxide when combines with the plasma having water, it forms carbonic acid. Our blood pH is said to be 7.4. If carbonic acid is more in the blood, what happens? Here, the blood pH decreases to acidic medium and we eventually go to coma and then die. So blood pH should never change. Hence, carbon dioxide has to be eliminated through the same route where the oxygen entered. And this is what we call it as respiratory system is. So thus respiratory system is not just taking in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. It is a process where energy is produced. It is a process where certain molecules are broken down, and hence we call respiration as a catabolic process where glucose is broken down in the presence of oxygen. We call it as oxidation of glucose. Not only of oxygen, but also, for example, fatty acids. These are also oxidized. When they are oxidized, they release carbon dioxide, water, energy, plus ketone bodies. Okay, carbon dioxide can be sent out, water can be utilized, energy is required, and the ketone bodies again make the blood pH acidic. So that is the reason why we generally not use fatty acids for energy source. For one molecule of glucose when it is oxidized it produces 32 ATP. One molecule of fatty acid when it is oxidized produces nearly 100 to 120, nearly 98 ATP. That means here fatty acids can produce more energy. At the same time, they also produce ketone bodies which are toxic to the body. Hence, fats are stored as reserve food material only for emergency purposes only. And we also know that fats are building blocks of every living organism. We are saying that we are made up of cells. What the cell is made up of? Cell is made up of all membranes. Cell is bounded by plasma membrane. Cell is bounded by nuclear membrane. Golgi cisterna is a membrane. Mitochondria is a membrane. Endoplasmic reticulum is a membrane. Lysosome is a membrane except ribosome. All are said to be membrane-bound cell organelles. That means everything is made up of membrane only. For this membrane, we need lipids. So, most of the fats are said to be, after digestion, are utilized in building your body, and the excess are said to be stored in the adipocytes but never used for energy unless otherwise you are starved. And the third oxidation process is oxidation of amino acids. So when oxidation of amino acids takes place, because amino acids, as the name implies, amino group is there, carboxylic acid group is there. So what happens here is carboxylic acid is there, so that here it produces carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. But the amino group, when it is oxidized, it produces ammonia. So this is called as oxidative deamination. So carbon dioxide can be sent out through respiratory system and water can be utilized. Energy is required for the body. What about the ammonia? It makes the pH towards basic side because it is a base, ammonia. So it is also lethal, toxic. So it needs to be sent out. For the sending out of this ammonia, there is evolved the fourth system, that is excretory system. So excretory system is responsible for sending out of the body or eliminating nitrogenous based substances. Nitrogenous based substances like ammonia. Ammonia is the first product that is formed. So when we deal with excretory system, why ammonia is said to be not uh, directly eliminated from the human body, why only urea, and why in other some organisms there is uric acid, why there is guanine, why there is trimethylamine oxide. There are so many toxic waste, nitrogenous waste containing nitrogen. Okay, so we'll deal with that later. This is the fourth system, organ system, that is excretory system. And in order to supply all these to different parts, carbon dioxide has to be sent to respiratory organs, oxygen has to be sent to from respiratory organs to cells, blood has to, glucose and other digested food substances have to be sent through digestive system to different parts of the body into cells. So in order to communicate all these, there is a what we call circulatory system. There is a circulatory system. So this is the fifth system. So this circulatory system is divided basically into two types: lymphatic circulation and blood vascular system. Blood vascular system or blood circulation. In lymphatic system, we come across with tissue fluid. In blood circulation or blood vascular system, we come across with blood. Tissue fluid runs among the tissues in coelom and also lymphatic vessels, whereas blood runs in blood vessels only, but never in tissues in case of mammals except in arthropods and other invertebrates, which we call them as where we call this blood as hemolymph. Okay, and lymphatic system comprises of lymphocytes, whereas in addition to the lymphocytes, the blood vascular system also contains lymphocytes are part of WBC, platelets, and RBC. You all know, and here this tissue fluid, which is also called as lymph, is acting as intermediary. It is acting as intermediary between blood and cells. So this is the tissue fluid. So oxygen is present here in the blood, being carried from the respiratory organs. It has to go to cells. How? It has to go through the lymph only. So lymph acts as the intermediary. And carbon dioxide produced in the cell, it has to be sent to respiratory organs. That means only through blood. Likewise, any substance to be transported to any cell, it can be accomplished only by circulatory system, whether it be lymphatic or blood vascular system. And in order to make all these systems function, some of these systems have to what we call facilitate movement. For example, alimentary canal. Alimentary canal, in order to send the food from one part of the alimentary canal to another part of the alimentary canal, it undergoes continuous contractions followed by relaxations. How this is brought about? It is brought about by the muscles presence in its wall. So various organs of the body or organ systems are also containing another system called as muscular system, muscular tissue associated with it. So this muscular tissue is associated with a number of organs. Organs come together to form organ system. So thus muscular tissue is part and parcel of different organs of the body, including your entire flesh. What we call it as it is made up of muscular system. Okay, and this is the flesh which is responsible for what we call attaching the muscles to the bones, leading to the facilitation of movements of your organs like hands, feet, etc., which we call it as locomotion, that is accomplished by skeletal system. So these put together are responsible for locomotion and what we call it as movements of the various internal organs of the body. And that is the seventh system. And the eighth system is said to be which controls and coordinates all these different organ systems. That is called as nervous system. So nervous system is the one with its neurons that extend. One neuron is found to extend from the spinal cord, even from the brain to the tip of your toe. That how long these are. So that is the reason why these are considered as the longest cells of the body. These are considered as the longest cells of the body, where these are responsible for one, excitation, second, response. So they can excite and they can respond even. And after that, they analyze the situation and bring about coordination among different parts of the body. So this is the main function that is attributed to nervous system. When this nervous system we see it cannot function alone in coordinating various parts of the body. It has to function in association with another one that we call it as endocrine system, which we are going to deal with now. So endocrine system along with along with nervous system is responsible for coordination of various organ systems of the body, along with each and every hormone that is secreted by endocrine system is having a different function, whether it be metabolic, whether it be genomic expression, which we'll deal in the next class. What is the mechanism of hormone action is. So this is the system which we are going to deal with. And this endocrine system is not only responsible for coordinating the body, it is also responsible for producing, reproducing another individual of the same species, which we call it as reproductive system. The entire reproductive system, which is meant for producing a offspring, is again found to be under the control of endocrine system. So we have immune system in addition to this. So and so about 11 organ systems are present in our body, and we are now concerned with endocrine system. So this endocrine system is made up of endocrine glands. Okay, endocrine system is made up of endocrine glands. Together with nervous system, there is a branch of science which is called as neuroendocrinology. This is the basic science that is developed after the discovery of these endocrine glands and the discovery that endocrine glands are associated with the nervous system in order to perform coordination of various parts of the organs of the body. And this is called as neuroendocrinology, the discipline that is developed later. And there are so many doctors responsible studying this part of the medicine. Okay, medical field, in medical field. Now coming to the, before going to endocrine system, let me tell you what a gland is. So what a gland is nothing but a group of cells. It is a group of cells with similar secretory activity. Glands are group of cells with similar secretory activity. In our eyes we have lacrimal glands. So this is a group of cells forming into lacrimal glands. So what all these cells produce? All these cells produce only tears. So they have similar secretory activity. In our buccal cavity open a number of salivary glands. So what is their function? It is a group of cells where each and every cell is meant for producing saliva only, and so on. So thus all these are said to be called as glands. These glands are of two types. Glands are of two types. We can call them as exocrine glands and endocrine glands. Crina is a Greek word which means secretion. It means secretion. Exo means secretion to outside. Endo means secretion to inside. So there are two types of glands in our body where some glands secrete their contents to outside, some glands secrete their contents to inside. What is this outside and inside is? An exocrine gland, for example, salivary glands. If this is your buccal cavity, okay, the exocrine gland, that is salivary gland, opens through a duct into the buccal cavity. So whatever the saliva that is produced here passes through this and reaches the buccal cavity. So exocrine glands are glands with ducts, so that they release their contents to the place where they are localized, where they are localized. Whereas endocrine glands are said to be ductless glands. They are ductless glands. Their secretions are not localized. Exocrine glands release their secretions locally. For example, gastric gland. Gastric gland secretes gastric juice only into the stomach because it is present in the wall of the stomach. Intestinal glands, they secrete their contents into the intestine only. Liver, they secrete their contents into duodenum. Pancreas, through duct into duodenum. Tears, only near the eye region. Sweat glands, only in the skin. Sebaceous gland, only in the skin. So wherever they are present, there only their contents are secreted. Whereas here, because they are ductless glands, their secretions are released into blood. That is what is meant for insides. When we secrete tears, they go out of the body. When we secrete saliva, they go out of the body into buccal cavity. We can spit it. When you secrete digestive juices into alimentary canal, after the digestion process is over, all these are said to be eliminated through egestion, through the anus. So they are said to be sent out of the body. They're released into cavities. It means if gastric gland is released into, tears are released outside, saliva is released into buccal cavity, and all the digestive juices are released into cavities. So they are releasing either to outside or into cavities through ducts. Whereas endocrine glands, these secretions are released only into blood. So when they release into the blood, they reach a target organ. So through the blood, they go to all parts of the body. Every cell receives, for example, pancreas releases insulin. So this insulin goes to every cell of the body, but only hepatocytes react to it because hepatocytes have receptors located on their surface which recognize insulin. Thus, hepatocytes are called as the target organ for insulin. Likewise, every hormone is having a particular what we call target organ where they reach. So here the exocrine glands, they release locally and their function is performed locally. But endocrine gland secretions, they are released into blood and their function is somewhere at a distant place on a target organ. And exocrine secretions are in large amounts. Exocrine secretions are in large amounts, whereas endocrine secretions are said to be very small in amounts, even in picogram or picomole quantities. They are in picogram or picomole in quantities. So that is the basic difference between these two. Now let us see the endocrine glands. So there are so many endocrine glands in our body. Starting from the head, we'll start. So this is the head region. So this head region comprises two glands in our body. One is present on the dorsal side, the other is present on the ventral side. The one that is present on the dorsal side is said to be called as pineal gland. Pineal gland. And the one that is present on the ventral side of the brain is called as pituitary gland. So in the head region, there are two endocrine glands, pineal gland on the dorsal side of the brain and pituitary gland on the ventral side of the brain. We'll deal with all these later. And coming from head to neck. In the neck region, there is trachea. Associated with trachea, there is a thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is associated with trachea. And associated with the thyroid gland, there are parathyroid glands in the same neck region. Parathyroid glands are present in the neck region itself. And further moving down, now we have chest. Okay, in the chest region, when in we were children, we have another gland called as thymus. This thymus secretes thymosin that is responsible for immunity. As we grow into adults, immune system develops, so there is no need for this, and this gets atrophied. Atrophy means disappears, completely degenerates. Okay, so this is the only endocrine gland that is seen in some stage of life, and that is in children, which is completely destroyed, so that not even traces are present in the adult. And from there, we move to the abdomen. In the abdomen, we come across with stomach forming a loop with small intestine. In this loop, there is a pink gland, and this pink gland is called as pancreas. And this is the only gland which is having both exocrine function as well as endocrine function. Hence, we call this as a mixed gland or compound gland. That means it secretes digestive juice and it secretes hormones also. Further moving down, further moving down, we have kidneys. Attached to the kidneys, there are two endocrine glands, and these are called as adrenal glands. Adrenal. So ad means addition, added to. To which part they are added to? Renal means excretory organ. The excretory organs are kidneys here. Hence we call them as adrenal gland. These are present at the apex, attached to the apex of the kidney. Hence we also call them as suprarenal gland. Suprarenal gland. In addition to this, we have so many endocrine tissues, not glands, endocrine tissue located throughout the length of the alimentary canal. Throughout the length of the alimentary canal. So these are called as gastrointestinal hormones, which are secreted by the endocrine tissue. Endocrine tissue located in the wall of the alimentary canal, which secrete gastrointestinal hormones. Okay, and thus from top of the body, from the head till the end of the body to the trunk, we have several endocrine glands which release their secretion directly into blood because they are not having their own ducts. They are released only in very minute quantity, picograms, 10 to the power of minus 12. That means even not even a drop. A drop cut into so many thousands results in this quantity. But it produces a cascade of events. That means this activates one enzyme, that activates another enzyme, that activates another enzyme, and finally one metabolic activity is said to be performed. So with each of these cascade events, there is multiplicity in terms of action. Though they are released in small quantities, their action is said to be very big. And we are now dealing with the hormones that are responsible for controlling the reproduction in mammals. We know what is reproduction. Reproduction is a biological process by which an organism reproduces an offspring. We are calling it as not production. We are not producing. We are reproducing. What is reproduction means? We are producing our own image. Human image is produced. When a dog conceives, it produces only dogs but not bears. A bear conceives, it produces only bears but not lions. A human conceives, they reproduce only a human being, which is an offspring. Okay, which is biologically similar to the same species. That is what reproduction is. What is the need for reproduction? Every organism tends to continue their race or species. So in order to continuity of species, passing down the genetic traits from the parents to the offsprings, generation of generation, reproduction is required. Without reproduction, even there is no evolution at all. And types of reproduction, we know there are two types, asexual and sexual. Asexual reproduction is uniparental. That means from one parent, organisms are produced. And sexual reproduction, two parents are involved from which organisms are produced. Okay. And coming to the endocrine glands. Endocrine glands secrete hormones. So then what is a hormone? Hormones are organic substances. Hormones are organic substances secreted by even plants. We call them as plant hormones, and also animals, animal hormones that function in the regulation of physiological activities and in maintaining homeostasis. That is what I have said before. These are responsible along with the nervous system for maintaining coordination of the body, and one such coordination is said to be homeostasis, which includes ionic regulation, etc. and etc. This is a different topic. Okay, and one such physiological activity controlled by hormones is nothing but reproduction also. So every system of the body, whether it is your heart, your kidney, your reproductive organs, all are under the control, master control of hormones. So these are the masters of the body, as I say. Without these hormones, you cannot grow. Growth is said to be of different types. Somatic growth, isn't it? For somatic growth, you require hormones, where you grow big in size. For sexual growth, you need hormones, where the reproductive organs are developed being under the control of hormones. There is another growth called as mental growth, that is development of your nervous system, and this mental growth also depends on hormones. So though they are released in picomole or picogram quantities, the entire our entire body, whether it be human beings or other animals or plants, all are said to be their somatic, sexual, and mental growth is under the control of hormones. Now we are dealing with the control of the reproductive system in mammals. Coming to the mammalian reproduction, mammals are divided into three types: prototheria, metatheria, and eutheria. Prototherians are oviparous. That means they produce eggs. These are like hens, egg laying mammals. Hence we call them as oviparous. And there is second one which is marsupial. These are the organisms which produce the young ones, and these young ones are said to be altricious, they're not precocious. There are two terms, altricious and precocious. Altricious means once they are born, they can run on their own. Precocious means, sorry, once they are born, they are said to be dependent on the parents. The other is once they are born, they are said to be independent. And here, these are dependent on the parents, where the parent carries them in a pouch called as marsupium. Hence, we call them as marsupial mammals. And the last one are placental mammals. They belong to Eutheria. So we have a connection established between the developing embryo and the wall of the uterus of the mother. And this connection is called as placenta. So this is what is responsible for the development of the young ones. Hence we are called as placental mammals. Coming to the hormonal control of reproduction, before going into this, let me explain the structure of the male reproductive system. The male reproductive system starts with the male reproductive organs. They are called as gonads, male gonads. Okay, so these male gonads are called as testes. The testes are oval shaped and they are present in scrotal sacs outside the abdomen. And starting from the inside the testis, there are small tubes, and these small tubes are called as seminiferous tubules. This is the region where the sperms are produced. So once the sperms are produced in the seminiferous tubules, they reach and are stored in this highly coiled structure called as epididymis. From the epididymis, during the process of copulation, through vas deferens, this long duct which is called as vas deferens, and through urethra, they reach the male genital organ, through which it is male genital organ, through which it is inserted into the female reproductive tract. So that is the main function of the male reproductive system. What is? The first one is to produce sperms in the seminiferous tubule, and to deliver, to store the sperms in the epididymis, to pass the sperms through the vas deferens, and to release the sperms in the female reproductive tract. These are the four main functions attributed to the male reproductive system. So let me explain this part once. So here, when we were born, we were left with what we call a genital primordium. This can be grown into what we call either an ovary or a testis. When I was discussing with you the genetics, I told you that the Y chromosome has a specialized gene, okay, and this specialized gene produces testis determining factor that is responsible for the production of testosterone. Okay, and under the influence of this determining factor, this genital primordium develops into testis, and this is present inside the abdomen. Let us take the abdomen of a rabbit. This is the abdomen of a rabbit. Okay, so here there are gonads. Even if it is a human being, initially, even in the human beings, the gonads are present in the abdomen only. And the temperature of the body in human beings is 37 degrees centigrade, because all mammals are homeotherms. They develop, they maintain temperature of the body. When they maintain the temperature of the body, what actually happens here is, at this temperature, the seminiferous tubules of the testis cannot produce sperms. So sperm production is prevented. Hence, what they do just before birth, just before birth, there is a tract near the post-abdominal area between the, we can say between what we call between kidneys, etc. And this is called as inguinal canal. This is called as inguinal canal. So the main purpose of testis is producing sperms. If they are present in the abdomen, they cannot produce sperms at all. So what happens is they descend down. They descend down through the inguinal canal and come to occupy a position outside the abdomen in scrotal sacs. So these are the structures called as scrotal sacs, where the testes reach, and they stay in the scrotal sacs lifelong. In all mammals, here this is the case, so that no testis is present in the abdomen. If it is present in the abdomen, what happens? It cannot produce sperms at all. So they reach through the inguinal canal, they reach the scrotal sacs where they are localized. What happens in some individuals, some human beings also? In some human beings, what happens is um, when the testosterone levels are said to be not optimal, when they are not optimal, the descension of testis into scrotal sacs is prevented, and thus testes remain in the abdomen. So the testes become abdominal even after birth. That condition is called as cryptorchidism. Cryptos means hidden. Cryptorchidism means hidden testis. So testis which has to be present outside the abdomen is present inside the abdomen at a body temperature of 37 degrees centigrade. This testis now becomes non-functional. It cannot produce sperms at all, and thus in this condition the individual will be almost like a sterile individual. He cannot produce sperms. And human beings, once they reach puberty, up to puberty, reproductive organs are not fully matured. Though they are present, they are not fully mature. So what happened? There is no reprotorchidism condition. All these are present inside the scrotal sacs. Okay. There are two types of mammals. Once we reach the puberty, all human beings can reproduce without any boundary. That means no restriction with respect to season. Hence, we are called as continuous breeders. So, even rainy season, even winter season, even what we call summer season, whatever the season may be, such mammals are called as continuous breeders. There is no restriction on reproduction with respect to seasons. Whereas, for example, rabbit here, we call them as seasonal breeders. We call them as seasonal breeders. That means they reproduce based on certain seasons. Even dogs are like this, rabbits are like this, and so many. In such organisms, what happens is, in continuous breeders, once the testes descend into the scrotal sacs, the inguinal canal is permanently closed. In continuous breeders, once the testes descend down into the scrotal sacs, the inguinal canal is permanently closed so that they can never come back again. This happens in continuous breeders. Whereas coming to the seasonal breeders, the inguinal canal is open throughout life, so that only during season, for example, rabbits reproduce during rainy season. So during rainy season, they are present in scrotal sacs where sperms are produced. And rainy season is followed by winter and summer season. And by the time this comes, what happens? They come back again into the abdomen as the inguinal canal is said to be open. So inside the abdomen, they cannot produce sperms. That is the reason why these organisms can reproduce only in certain seasons. So these entire events, all these events are under the control of what we call this testosterone. And now coming to the structure of the testis. The testis is said to be covered by an outer layer called as tunica albuginea. It's a fibrous capsule, tunica albuginea, from which descend down a number of strands. We can call them as trabeculae, which divide the testis into small lobes. It divides the testis into small lobes. These are the lobes of the testis. Inside each lobe, we come across with small tubes. Because they are small tubes, we can call them as tubules. Because these tubules produce sperms, we call them as seminiferous tubules. So it comprises of a number of seminiferous tubules. Interspersed among these lobes, interspersed among these lobes, there are groups of cells. There are groups of cells marked in red here. These groups of cells are called as interstitial cells of Leydig. Interstitial cells of Leydig. Somebody is coming. Please start. Okay. So these are called as interstitial cells of Leydig. They were described for the first time by scientists called as Leydig. Hence, they were named after Leydig. So this is the structure of the testis transfer section. Let us start with seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubules, so we know it is a tube-like structure. So when it is tube-like structure, this shows a tube has wall. So this is also having a wall. So the wall of this is called as germinal epithelium. The wall of the seminiferous tubule is called as germinal epithelium. So I cannot show on both the sides. So I am showing this only, the entire process I am showing on only one side in order to save time. So we are going from this side only, not from this side. So this is layer called as germinal epithelium. So every visceral organ is covered by an outer layer. Like we have skin on our body, every visceral organ has skin on outside, and this skin is, we call them as epithelium. And this epithelium is responsible for producing the offsprings. How? By production of gametes. So thus this is called as germinal epithelium. So this germinal epithelium enters the first phase of spermatogenesis called as proliferation phase. So when it enters the proliferation phase, it divides to form a number of cells called as spermatogonia, and which again divide to form innumerable number of spermatogonia. After this, it reaches the growth phase. In growth phase, each spermatogonium increases in size. The same thing happens from this side also. Okay, each spermatogonium increases in size, and this is called as primary spermatocyte. Primary spermatocyte. And now it enters the third phase, that is maturation phase. In maturation phase, what happens? The primary spermatocyte undergoes meiotic division. So the first division produces two cells, and these two cells are called as secondary spermatocytes, which are half the size of the parent cell. And now second division takes place. From each one, two cells again are produced. Thus, four cells which are one-fourth the size of the primary spermatocyte are produced, and these are called as spermatids. And these spermatids now develop head and tail and middle piece. They are transformed into sperms. So this entire process on both the sides is called as spermatogenesis. Thus, from moving from this side to this side center, or from this side to center, you see only sperms at the center. And along with the germinal epithelial cells, there are long sustentacular cells. These are called as Sertoli cells. These are called as Sertoli cells. And these Sertoli cells are the cells where into which the sperms through their head are said to be attached. And the Sertoli cells provide nutrition for the developing sperms. So this is the structure of a seminiferous tubule where the sperms are produced. and this entire process is under the control of hormones. Let us see the hormonal control of reproduction in mammals with respect to male reproductive system. So hormonal control of male reproductive system. So how this happens is there is the first endocrine gland which is responsible for this, that is called as sorry that is called as hypothalamus. Okay, so the floor of diencephalon, that is one part present in the forebrain. Forebrain has olfactory lobes, cerebral hemispheres, and diencephalon. So these are the olfactory lobes, these are the cerebral hemispheres, and this is the diencephalon region. The roof of diencephalon is called as epithalamus, sides are called as optic thalami, and floor is called as hypothalamus. So this hypothalamus produces hormones. These are called as gonadotropin releasing hormones. So the first hormonal control of the male reproductive system starts with the brain itself, where the floor of diencephalon called as hypothalamus, floor of somebody is coming and going. Okay, so the floor of diencephalon is called as hypothalamus, which produces gonadotropin releasing hormones. Now what happens? As this is an endocrine tissue associated with the nervous system, that is what I have said before. Nervous system and endocrine glands go hand in hand in most of the time. So this part of the brain releases gonadotropin releasing hormones. Because it is an endocrine tissue, it releases its contents into blood circulation. But here, it sends the gonadotropin releasing hormones through blood circulation, which is called as hypothalamo hypophyseal portal system. Hypothalamo hypophyseal portal system. I'll explain you it about this in detail when we deal with pituitary gland. So hypothalamo hypophyseal portal system. This is the blood circulation system through which the gonadotropin hormones reach the pituitary gland. Okay, they reach uh, the pituitary gland. So from brain, that is hypothalamus, through hypothalamo hypophyseal portal circulation, they reach the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is having two parts, anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. And this reaches, gonadotrophic releasing hormone reaches the anterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary is again three types, three lobes, pars distalis, pars tubralis, pars intermedia. And this gonadotrophic releasing hormone reaches pars distalis. The pars distalis has a number of cells, and one such cell is called as gonadotrophic cell. Now, the uh, gonadotropin releasing hormone passes along this route and reaches the gonadotrophic cells of pars distalis of anterior pituitary of the pituitary gland. Once they reach the gonadotrophic cells, now what happens? Pituitary gland. The gonadotrophic cells, under the stimulation of the gonadotrophic releasing hormone, it starts secreting gonadotrophic hormones. So the second hormones that are released here are gonadotrophic hormones secreted by the gonadotrophic cells of the pars distalis of anterior pituitary. And these gonadotrophic cells are again of two types. Gonadotrophic cells are again of two types. One is folliculotroph, folliculotroph. The other is luteotroph, folliculotroph, luteotroph. So there is a folliculotrophic cell and there is a luteotrophic cell. The folliculotrophic cell secretes follicle stimulating hormone. The folliculotrophic cell secretes follicle stimulating hormone. Luteotrophic cell, luteotroph we can call it simply as, luteotrophs secrete luteinizing hormone. Lutein. Actually, this term and these terms, these two terms are associated with the female reproductive system. Follicles are present, Graafian follicle, it is present in ovary. Luteinization, conversion of Graafian follicle to corpus luteum takes place in ovary. But these hormones are recognized even in the male, but the same names are said to be, same hormones are present in even in male, but they are different function. But that same name is said to be retained here. Okay. So now we come across with two hormones, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. So what does these two? Coming to follicle stimulating hormone. This follicle stimulating hormone is released into the blood. Through the blood it reaches the testis, and in the testis there is the seminiferous tubules where they are responsible for the entire process of production of sperms. So follicle stimulating hormone is responsible for spermatogenesis. Clear? Now the second one, luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone in human males is given another name, interstitial cell stimulating hormone. When I was telling you about the structure of the testis, it has a number of lobes. Interspersed among the lobes, there are special cells called as interstitial cells of Leydig. And this luteinizing hormone stimulates the interstitial cells so that they secrete a hormone. And that hormone is said to be testosterone. So the function of luteinizing hormone in males is to stimulate interstitial cells of Leydig. Now what happens? A third hormone, that is testosterone, is secreted. This testosterone is having a number of functions. The first function is genital primordium. The target organ is genital primordium. So the first function is making the genital primordium to develop into testis. The second function of the testis develops. What happens? The development of accessory reproductive organs should take place. So development of primary and accessory reproductive organs. That means testis is there, with which epididymis and vas deferens, another what we call penis. In addition to this, prostate glands, Cowper's glands, whatever the glands that are associated with it, all are developing under the control of testosterone only. After once they are said to be developed, and this testosterone is responsible for a myotrophic effect in males. What is myotrophic effect? It is responsible for what we call strength of the muscles. We can call this as simply. The strength of the muscles in males is under the control of testosterone. That is the reason why male are said to be physically more powerful than female. Why? Because here testosterone is acting on the muscles, which is called as myotrophic effect. So thus these three are the main hormones which are responsible for controlling the reproduction in males. And in the next class, in the evening class, we'll discuss the hormonal control of reproduction in female. So any doubts, please ask me. Otherwise, we'll close here. Hope you understood well. Thank you.